All right, Outlaw Radio Live fans, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM. We have none other than the legendary Positive K on the line. How you doing this evening?
Hey, come on, yep, you know what's going on, man. Mom, talk to me.
Hey, man, like I told you before, I want to say I've been a huge fan of your work for a long time, so it is an absolute honor just to be able to have you on my radio station, man. So I hope you are doing well out on your end during this terrible pandemic.
Oh, yeah, man, it's a little concerning for me, you know. First of all, thanks for having me on the show, man. Everybody 97.7. Man, what's up? What's going on? Hope everyone is well out there also. But, yeah, it's a little concerning because I have elderly parents, and I'm like a, artist slash caregiver. So, it's very concerning for me these troubling times. But, hey, man, we stay prayed up, man, and we keep it moving.
Most definitely, man. And I want to take you back quite a few years here, and I want to ask you, like, what made you decide to get into the music industry from the beginning?
I was born in the Bronx, man, and, that's kind of like putting your DNA code. If you're born in the Bronx, you have to do music in some point in your life, But my grandmother lived on Valentine Avenue in the Bronx, across from the famous infamous foundation of hip-hop. I call it Echo Park. And that's where everybody used to be, Grandmaster Flash, Melly Mel, when they were youngsters coming up. And I was a little, I was a shorty just looking on, just just being in awe and admiring these guys and their craft. And, man, the hip-hop bug it bit me, man, and I was done ever since then.
Did you ever have the opportunity to actually work with Grandmaster Flash or any of those individuals growing up?
I never did any songs with him, but I definitely sat with Flash. He tried to do some songs for me, and I sat and we had a listening session. I went to a studio and he played me beats, man. It's crazy, man. I'll admit it right now, but I had goosebumps on my arms. I'm like, this is Grandmaster Flash. And we were sitting there, man, just laughing and listening to music. I have been on stage with Melly Mel, and he passed me the mic, and we rhymed side by side, and we've done shows together. So, it's surreal, man. It's like living a dream.
Most definitely. And not a lot of individuals really, nowadays, not a lot of individuals really would have the opportunity to be like, hey, I got to sit there with Grandmaster Flash, So that's actually an amazing achievement.
Yes, it is, man. It's like, it's more, at one point in time, it was like a hip-hop thing in its own one, but now it's like a generational thing. It's like, that's the golden era, this is this era, this is this era, this is this genre. I mean, the music got so big, the genre got so big that it split up so much, So now you don't even know what you're listening to anymore. Everything has a name for it. So everything is so separated,
And also, you are one of the original artists of the very first Priority Music Group. I have to ask you, what was that experience like, and how did that come to be for you?
It was incredible, man. My first manager, you probably know him, his name was Lamumba Carson. Everybody knows him as Professor X, the Overseer. That didn't happen until many years later. But when he managed me, I was his first artist, and he was my first manager. And, we worked on songs. The first producer he took me to was Daddy O for Stetson Sonic. And we worked on songs, and Daddy O showed me how to do music. And they took me to this guy named Nat Robinson, and he wanted to work with me. He had two other artists. One was MC Light, the other one was Milk D, which was his son. And he said he wanted me to be part of the roster. And I said, hey, man, let's get down, let's do it. And the rest was history.
Most definitely. And honestly, though, you were actually one of the very first individuals. So looking back on those days, like, how do you actually feel just being able to say, like, hey, I'm the first, one of the original artists of the first Priority Music Group?
Oh, yeah, man. It was the Three Musketeers, man. It was Light, myself, and Milk, man. I was definitely one of the first there, and it felt good because the roster really got big. It turned to a different label, Bum Rush, and a lot of people came after that, man, But it's part of my legacy, man. I'm proud to have had that experience. It taught me a lot, and it taught me how to be an independent record label also. So, it was beneficial to me.
And you were also a part of the group, the Disco Cousins, and rapped under the name Baby Breezy. I have to ask you, can you tell us a bit more about that, and also what made you decide to use the name Baby Breezy during that time?
Hey, it's called being young and foolish. Back then, you were either a ski or breeze. You were either Kev Ski or you were a Joe Breeze or something. You know what I'm saying? So those were the acronyms you had. You left to use. So I use that, man. I don't know, man. I'm glad it didn't stick. That's all I know.
do you ever? I have to ask this. I'm judging by your response, I don't think this is possible. But like down the road, do you ever think like you might just like say, you know what? Let's put Positive K to the side for a minute. Let's do a Baby Breezy record.
Wow, nah, I don't think that's going to happen in no near future, man. Baby Breeze has seen his son. He had his moment in the sun, and that's over with. We gonna stick with Positive K from here on in.
Hey man, most I think that's good. You know, everyone knows he was Positive K, so there's no use switching that up.
Yeah, you damn right. You know, hey, let's not reinvent the wheel.
And you were also part of the group, the Almighty God Committee, which also played a part in your now hip hop name, Positive K. Can you tell us a bit more about the story behind the Almighty God Committee?
Definitely. I was part of the Nation of Gods and Earth, and Almighty God Committee was composed of 4 to 5 individuals who were all part of the Nation of Gods and Earth. We call it the Almighty God Committee. I had my first show at it's called the legendary Encore Club, where they had a lot of hip hop artists starting out there. Simmons 4, Sparky D, Mr. Magic used to host his rap attack contest there. And we performed our first show at the Encore with Mr. Magic Rap Attack, and we couldn't get on stage. So Force and D's were headlining. I think they just had the song "Let Me Love You," and which was a smash hit. And we were in the bathroom because they kept telling us we couldn't go on, and we was in the bathroom just, let's get changed anyway, put our outfits on. We put our outfits on, and Mercury walked in. I spoke to Mercury from the Force and D's. I said, look, man, we can't get on. I said, man, you do me a solid, man. You don't know me, but if you can talk to Mr. Magic, you guys look good out here, man. You know what? Let me go talk to him. So he talked to him, and he got us on stage to perform. And that was one of the first shows I ever did.
And you know what, man? Look at you now, man. You're a household name. Everybody knows who Positive K is now.
Hey, man. Hey, from your lips to everybody else's ears, man. That's a blessing. Thank you.
And I have to ask this, because one of my favorite songs by you is one of your most famous, and one of my favorite songs is actually called "I've Got a Man." And I do want to say my apologies to begin with, because I know you probably answered this a million times. But I have to ask you, what's the story behind that song? Like, what's that song all about? Was it about your actual past experiences?
Oh, most definitely, man. I got rejected one time, and it's after I made "I'm Not Having It," and I went out to Jones Beach to some big party, man. I only told the story about 2 or 3 times, and you're probably you're one of the individuals who got the real scoop on it. I was rejected, but it was about who I was rejected by. I was feeling myself. I was signing autographs. "I'm Not Having It" was going through the charts. Everybody knew where I was. I was just walking, and this crowd was following me. I had stepped to Cheryl. Salt from Salt and Pepper. So I stepped to Salt, and I tried to take it to her, and I'm like, look at you know each other and all of this and that and that. I didn't know that she was dating Herbie Lomberg at the time. And I didn't even know she was expecting a baby at the time either. So she was like, no, I got a man and that. I didn't know. So she shut me down, and it was like, the crew I was with seen me step to her, and they were like, they gave it to me. So I was like, oh man, that was rough. But that's what it was, man. It was Salt and Pepper gave me the rejection, and that's the song was made.
And I have to ask this, did she actually know that, like, that song was about her, or she didn't even realize it?
Well, she didn't know it was about her. Not even to this day. I never talked about it because I didn't want to. It was like added to the embarrassment. I don't want to say this is about Salt and Pepper, but when it was on Jones, it was at Jones Beach, and we were going to Herbie Lomberg's house. Matter of fact, because he was having an after party. I was friends with Dana Dane, and everybody was, and DJ Wiz from Kid and Clay. So we were all together, and I went over there, trying to hang out and whatnot, doing the music thing, and we were on the beach, and I think I walked up to her, and I was like, hey, how you doing, and I kissed her to her, and she shut me down, man, and it really kind of bothered me because I was like, I was hot, I'm Not Having It was really banging at that point, and I'm like, how you shut me down, and it kind of bothered me for a minute, and then it just popped in my head. I just kept remembering saying that she had a man, and I was like, wow, it just kept resonating in my head. But she doesn't know about it, but I guess she'll know now.
Well, you know what? Sorry. You know what I mean? Sorry. But I look at it like this, man. Many girls can turn you down, but music will always be there for you, man. So you know what? Look at that song now. Your one experience, most definitely, turned into one amazing song.
Yeah, true blessing, man. And that song is so great because it's past generation, it's past genre. It's just a great record. It's not just a hip hop record. It's
also, when you brought up "I'm Not Having It," that was actually one of my next questions as well. You actually did that duet with MC Light. I have to ask you, what was it like working with MC Light, and how did you two actually get connected?
Well, we were on the same label, and Marvin Gaye was my favorite artist. And at that point in time, I was still trying to find myself what I was going to do, what kind of songs I was going to make. And I sat myself down and I asked myself a question. I said, what would you do if Marvin Gaye was a rapper? And I said, well, most of his songs were duets. So I said, do a duet. And I said, well, Light's right here. Let me use Light. So I used Light, and I wrote the song, and we performed it, and it came out great. Because she gets to live a rhyme so forceful with so much attitude. Our chemistry just resonated and clicked. So we went ahead and did it, man, and it became a big hit. And I got a man to follow up. I'm Not Having It. So that song was the catalyst of the whole thing. And not recently, we just came back and we get Still Not Having It, which is a great record also. You know what I'm saying? So that's the I'm Not Having It legacy.
And I have to ask you this with part two. Is that available on the internet for individuals to stream or buy? If so, would you be able to let us know where we can actually check out that song if we haven't already?
Yes, it's available on all platforms. It's called I'm Still Not Having It, and go get it. We use the Bill Wiggins Lovely Day. It's a great record. Go check it out. Please go get it. I urge you to.
And also, you were featured in a remix of the song "Come to Butthead" from the on the Beavis and Butthead soundtrack of the film Beavis and Butthead Experience. I have to ask you, what was that like, and how did you actually get connected with that project and Mike Judge?
It was crazy, man. They reached out to me. Matter of fact, they had did the album, and I mean, all the names on there were so incredible. I mean, they had Aerosmith, they had Run DMC on it. They had every big major artist on there, and they called me up, and this is so crazy. This is what gave me really kind of bugged me out. But they called me up and they wanted me to work on a record, and they said the album was done, but they wanted to do the song on the flip side of the Cher record. And I'm like, what? And so they said, yeah, well, I'm jumping the gun. I did the record. I was the last song for the album, but the record came out so good, they put it as a double A side. The Cher record that they did with Butthead, even the Butthead, on the flip side of that is my song. So they really loved that song that much, and it was dope, man. They even had a little animated cartoon about it and everything. It was real dope, man.
And I have to ask you this, man. Were you a fan of Beavis and Butthead going into that? Because that show was huge back in the 90s.
It was. I watched it. What it was, I just wasn't too much into MTV because they weren't playing a lot of hip-hop at the moment other than MTV raps. But I did catch the Beavis and Butthead. I got into it even more once I did the song because I knew they were going to be bringing me up in certain episodes and stuff like that. So definitely, man, I used to watch it, man, and it was crazy working with Mike Judge because Beavis and Butthead was so real. You would think that they were actually people. It was animated, but it's like they just took on a life of its own. So meeting Mike Judge was really kind of dope, and working with Nile Rodgers, who was the producer of the track, was even more dope. That was just like incredible work with Nile Rodgers, man. I had a ball.
And like when you said that, they were almost like, even though they're animated, they also were like a life of their own because I think they were on the David Letterman show at one point too. I think they also were at I want to say the Grammys or the Oscars as well. Like, I still want to know how they had the technology to actually do that back in the 90s. That's still phenomenal to me.
It'd be dope if they go back and just show an old Beavis and Butthead, what they look like now as older men.
That would be kind of funny, though. I agree with that. They should make that, And and also, it's also going into the movie part of things. You also played an angry protester in a Robert De Niro film called A Bronx Tale. I have to ask you, what was that experience like, and how did you land that role?
I was so excited. I just got my SAG card, and I was feeling kind of good. And I was going out for auditions and stuff. And they was like, "Hey, man, we use you. You're the angry protester." It was just that simple. But I had turned down a lot of roles, man, because of management and stuff like that. But I was definitely offered roles in Strap, Jersey Drive, and Clockers. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't come to fruition, but definitely, man. And I'm offered some roles as of now. So just stay tuned. You'll see some things happening.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest. I've seen that movie a few times, and it never caught my eye until until me and my editor did the questions for this interview. Then I was like, wait, what? And then it clicked. I didn't notice it until we did these questions up. So it actually kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I'll probably post a clip of it up one day. You know, to get some time.
And also, I also read that you started a promotional company handling record promotions for Def Jam Recordings and London Records. I have to ask you, what made you decide to start that company?
I was doing everything, man. I was just being multifaceted, man. At the studio, I was on the road touring. Promotion was so good because in the beginning, when I started doing night shift, is one of my songs I did independently. I created so many relationships with DJs across the country. Everybody knew my relationships were solid. So I decided to go in and just say, hey, let's go ahead and just do this. So my promotion guy who was handling my project over at Island at Polygram Records was like, hey man, let's get together and start a company. So we got together, we started a company, and we put out songs like Protect Your Neck. I worked for Wu Tang. I'm the one who broke Southern Playalistic Outkast on the East Coast. I mean, first time you probably heard of Outkast was because of me. A lot of things for Uptown Records, Mr. P. Andre Harrell. Did a lot of projects, man. A lot of artists. I did a Rampage for Busta Rhymes. I did a lot of people.
And also with that as well, I believe you also work with Outkast as well. Like, did you guys get connected with Outkast through your promotional company?
No, actually, L.A. Reid approached me and my partner, Sincere Thompson. He came to us and he was like, I heard you guys got the juice for the DJs. I got this new group, and he brought us Outkast. And that's why I said, the first time you heard Outkast probably was because of me. And first time they were ever seen on national TV is on MTV Jams, and that was with me at my studio.
And I also have to ask this, 'cause I noticed on Instagram, excuse me, sorry, do you have your own like little I would say like vlogs show is called Exclusive. I have to ask you, you tell our listeners a bit more about that, and also where can they actually take the opportunity to watch that particular vlog of yours?
Well, it's Positive K Instagram, but it was more of a campaign. I got the new song out called Exclusive, which is a definite smash banger. Go check that out on all platforms. Get the record; it's a dope record. Shows you I still got that spin on me. And when I did, I just showcased artists I thought that weren't being seen, people I thought were dope. I gave them a chance to kind of spin over the exclusive beat, and I give you a little information about them, and I introduce them and let them go do it. So it kind of took a little life of its own, and everybody kind of loved the exclusive campaign, and we're still rocking. That's how it's going.
And that's what's up. So I encourage everybody, make sure you get that record. Make sure you check them out as well. And I also have to ask this, Positive K, man. What is next for you? Is there anything else you want to promote? We still have you here on the air. You have the floor.
Hey, man, that new record Exclusive, please go get it. Matter of fact, just go on platforms, just punch in Positive K, whatever's there that you don't have, go purchase that. Okay, I'm definitely working on some new stuff. I got a new song that's coming out in about another couple of days. I wish I had talked to you a little bit earlier so I could have had it for you now. But a new song is coming. It's called Let's Start Living. It's a reflection of what we're going through in these times right now. So again, go. It's on Apple Music as of I think today. So go check it out, man, in iTunes. It's called Let's Start Living. And keep your mask on, keep your hands washed. We got to go outside, so let's start living, but be safe.
Most definitely, Positive K. So this is the time in the interview that I give a chance for the individual that comes on the platform. Just a chance to give shout-outs to whomever they want to give shout-outs to. And of course, your social media handles. Is that way our listeners can give you a follow if they're not already doing so.
Big shout to my hip-hop family, man. Everybody who contributed to the culture. People like you and Marvel, man. Thank you for fighting the good fight, man. Keeping platforms open for this hip-hop to live. Okay? You want to reach out to me at positive_K_. That's positive_K_. That's Instagram and Twitter. Positive K Branding, official Positive K on Facebook. And just reach out to me. Tell me what's going on. Tell me how you're feeling. Give me some positive vibes. Give me some good energy, because the more energy you give me, the more I give back to you. All right? I'm just saying thank you so very much for having me, man. And legends of the era always.
Most definitely, Positive K. You're most certainly welcome, and thank you. I've been a fan of your music for a long time, so it's an honor just for you to be able to not only provide me with your time, but also our listeners as well. So thank you so much, and be safe out there, and hopefully down the road we can make this happen again.
Hey, man, thanks a lot, man. Play that new song. Let's start living. Angela's going to send it to you this week.
Most definitely. If she sends it, I'm gonna spin it.
There it goes, man. Enough said.
Have yourself a wonderful night.